Today we have a good and not so good message for you, dear viewers. My guest, who also was here last week, says regarding the Ukraine war that we are living in dangerous times and we are very close to the Third World War. He also says that the constant proclaiming that we will be the winners and Russia the loser, and that would be the way to win the war, would be or is ridiculous and disgusting, he says. So that could be considered a not-so-good message. The fact that Pope Francis, on his way back from a visit to Hungary, announced that the Vatican is involved in a peace mission to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine should be considered a good message. He said, "I'm ready to do whatever needs to be done. There's a mission now, but it is not public yet." As I said, a wonderful message that now, during the Easter season, inspires as the Easter message itself and calls us to hope. And this is how the subtitle of the book, co-written by my guest today, could be understood. In two ways, actually. Thinking the Unthinkable about the Third World War and Thinking the Unthinkable about peace. Welcome to the EWTN TV UN blog. Good afternoon. Although the title of the book that my guest today has co-written sounds rather negative, The Third World War, Thinking the Unthinkable, he understands it as a plea for peace. Excitingly formulated and historically well-founded, the book explores the question of how humanity can be saved from a Third World War. I am now connected again with Wiesbaden and welcome Jamal Qaiser.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Jamal, you are a Pakistani-German author, entrepreneur, political advisor, peace activist and UN representative of the Diplomatic Council Wiesbaden. As we heard in last week's program, you migrated to Germany with your family at the age of 8 from Pakistan. One of the many books you have written and co-written is called The Third World War, Thinking the Unthinkable. In the book, current sources of danger are highlighted and viable solutions are shown. The original title of the book is How to Avoid World War III. And in your book, you also point out that the United Nations were created to prevent a Third World War. And Pope Francis repeatedly spoke also of a Third World War in the globalized world, which is being fought out piecemeal and in which the growing number of conflicts only directly affect certain areas of the planet, but in reality affects everyone. Aren't we already in the middle of the Third World War, Jamal?
I mean, what we can say is that we are very close to the Third World War, and indirectly we are in many wars involved, starting from the Arab Spring, and before that the Afghan War, and in Pakistan drones, and Iraq. If we go back, there are a lot of wars which happened, but I think the critical situation this time, the difference is that there is a war in Europe, and there was a war in Europe before, the Yugoslavia, the ex-Yugoslavia, but there was no threat against Russia. So now we are in war. I didn't say that, but the foreign minister, German, said that we are in war against Russia. And that's what the Russians also pretend. They think that we are a war against them. And they know historically that from our part of the world and on our side of the world, that they're in the Second World War, there were about 27 million people killed due to our war in the Second World War, which we should not forget as well. So, yes, we have a war going on in Europe, in Ukraine, the kind of a proxy war against America and Russia, and both superpowers, in a sense, they have a lot of nuclear arsenals. So, let's see what comes out of it. But we are living in a dangerous world.
Let me quote Pope Francis again, who in 2015, during his visit to the USA, told the US Congress that the blood-soaked arms trade is the root of the evil, the cause of war. Isn't the Ukraine war also primarily about the arms trade, greed and power? Or what do you think it's about?
I think in the Ukraine war, it is not only the greed and money. It's more about the imperialistic world politics. I think Russia wants to become a superpower again, and they're looking for ways to come to that strength, to have the imperialistic world politics, and they're tired of the petrodollars, and they're tired of the imperialistic American politics, and but what they're doing is definitely against the international charter and international law. They didn't have a right to invade a country, even if the historically many points where they were doing a lot of things happened, like the coups and problems in 2008, 14, whatsoever happened. Still, they didn't have a right to invade a country. This was definitely wrong, and this is, I would have to call Russia as an aggressor, no doubt about that. But we should also, if we want to see the whole picture, we also need to understand what did we do wrong that the situation became that worse. So just by finding the mistakes in ourselves as well, and then there will be a way out where we can end the war. But speaking out that we are going to be the winners and Russia is going to be the loser and this is the way to win the war, I think this is definitely ridiculous and obnoxious. This is not going to help us. This will, and on the other side, if we see economically, Russia has won a lot of friends. If you see Philippines, if you see how India is trading with them, and if you see China, how's China going towards the pact, and if you see the Arabs with them leaving the petrodollar and going into yuan trade, and so a lot of things are changing on the world perspective. So as long the war is going on, I think we are on the Western side not doing a very intelligent world politics. So we want to stay stronger than Russia. We would want to have our roots clear, but this war is definitely not helping us further, I think. But on the other side, if we see that the country is attacked and he has to defend himself, we definitely need to help him. We cannot just say there's a country, somebody's just attacked and they're killing the children, women and men and soldiers in a demographic year which is anyway very weak. They're killing so many soldiers. So, and we're just sitting on the side and say we're waiting until Russia has killed all the men over there. This is also obnoxious and foolish. NATO needs to have need to end the war, and the ending the war is definitely in diplomacy in this case, and not sending more troops.
Many state media in Germany and others are spreading the news that Russia should not be seen simply as a neighbor, but as an enemy. Isn't it unwise, and in no way does it serve peace, to look at the country that starts just behind Poland and reaches all the way to China on the other side? And I refer to Russia, just like Ukraine, a neighboring country, to make an enemy of the neighbor. I mean, America is very far away from our neighbor, so often referred to as the enemy.
Well, you're right there, but we shouldn't forget still. I mean, even if your neighbor is a criminal, you need to stop him. You know, this, for example, in my religion, the Islam teaches us 3 levels of moral. The first moral is if you have the power, you have to go and you have to stop them with your hand. You just have to send the military there, and that nobody is killed. Safeguard the people if you have the power. If you don't have the power, you need to speak out and say this aggression is wrong, and speak out loud as possible. if you even can't do that, then the third level is just think in your conscience that somebody, what he's doing is bad. So no doubt that if we do not have the power to end the war, but we should also, first of all, our neighbor is doing something very bad. Undoubtedly, there's no doubt about that. So the thing is, but what we're not doing is that we're not speaking to him. We are just going to Ukraine and just coming back and provocating everything much higher. That is not the solution. We need to show strength, but we also need to communicate, and we also need to find way. And it is the Americans will go out of the war sooner or later, and then they're gone. As you said, they're far away. And we're going to live with these people. So our European foreign policy should be that strong together that we tell the Americans as well, listen, here's the point, and we are ending the war, and not doing everything which Americans want to do in this country. So we have to try to keep the justice on both sides. We need to show the strength on the NATO side, and we need to show strength on the Russian side to be the best mediator to end the war.
Best mediators, exactly. They are needed now. And the Vatican, the Pope, could turn out to be such. As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, the Vatican is currently involved in a peace mission to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And in this context, even if it's not officially put into the context, I think it's a very good sign that the Vatican and the Orthodox Church in Moscow, after the irritations over Russia's war on Ukraine, where they had frozen their dialogue, have now resumed their dialogue. On 3rd May, the head of the Russian Church's Foreign Office, Metropolitan Antonich, met with the head of the Vatican's Office for the Eastern Churches in Rome. At the end of a papal audience, the Metropolitan greeted the Pope and had a short conversation with him. Pope Francis kissed the medallion of the icon of the Mother of God that Orthodox Metropolitans wear, as it is customary at such meetings. The Pope then gave the Metropolitan a pontifical medal, while in return Metropolitan Antonich gave him an icon of Our Lady in a case. On the subject of neighbors, a quote from G.K. Chesterton, the English crime writer and Catholic: "We make our friends, we make our enemies, but God makes our next-door neighbor." Thank you for watching. God bless.